Welcome to Cadwell Park. I'm the circuit manager here, Paul Woodford, and we've got a pretty exciting day in store at the World's Trophy because we're inviting the 60s and 70s F1 Junior stock cars back. So we've got loads of heritage out in the display area, and we're going to get the side valve V8s out thumping on the circuit as well for a lunchtime demonstration. It was the 60s and 70s that the stock cars used to run here at Cadwell. The circuit is 85 years old, so she's an old lady. And we've got some moonshine runners, some of the barnstormers from the 60s, and we've got some of the junior and some of the 70s stock cars as well out there, including a six-wheeler with, I think, 2 steering axles. It's quite a machine. So something a bit different for us at Cadwell Park, and hopefully something a bit different for you at second shift as well.
Stock car racing came to this country and the first meeting was in New Cross Stadium, South London, in April 1954, and it was based on NASCAR racing, which started in 1948, February 1948, at Daytona Beach. And one of the circuits that was used for stock car racing in the 1950s was Cadwell Park. And its very first race meeting was in 1959. The race anti-clockwise, because all American racing is done anti-clockwise, and so a special dirt circuit was set up at Cadwell Park, quite separate from the ordinary normal motor racing circuit, and it was basically pear-shaped. And it was lined with straw bales, and there was not a lot of health and safety between the 30-odd cars that were being racing and the huge crowd of spectators. And the stock cars were raced here as Briscoe Formula One until 1975. And by that time, the cars no longer looked like the 1930s and 1940s American sedans and coupes to be seen today, and they became specials, and we are showing off the 1960s specials here today in our demonstration.
Our next port of call is Cadwell Park, which really tested man and machine with the hill and 90-degree bend at the bottom of a really steep slope. During this sequence, watch Willie Harrison, number 2, put Pete Webb, number 8, up on the bank. Other drivers to look out for are Brian Tufflin, number 155, Ron Webb, number 56, Wilf Blundell, 75, Ron Rogers, 152, and Charlie Finnegan, number 55. And yes, Charlie Finnegan, number 55, was the father of the man who currently runs that number, Bert Finnegan, number 55. Cadwell Park was a notoriously difficult circuit to drive. Built on the side of a hill, as you can see from this sequence it was. There was a steep incline, and the cars disappeared on what in effect was the back straight behind a clump of trees. And very often you would have a man leading the pack into and behind that clump of trees, and when the pack emerged, it'd be a different man actually leading the field. Time and time again, drivers were caught out at the bottom of this steep slope, which you can see now, and into that difficult, tight left-hander at the bottom of the hill. Cadwell Park was famous in its heyday for its mixed meetings, which used to attract quite large numbers of both Formula 1 and Formula 2 cars, and indeed large crowds. We now move to a different vantage point at Cadwell Park. Remarkably, the film captures Stuart Smith. There he is, passing Stuart Bamford 353. Who would have guessed that 20 years on they would be joint promoters at Scunthorpe? Unfortunately, age has caught up with the film here, and hence a certain amount of white-blue flare creeping in. A large field there, climbing up the hill, bumpers going in. You certainly see a lot of Pete Webb, number 8, throughout these shots from the past. And that looked remarkably like George Hanson in a bit of trouble a few moments ago. Another change of viewpoint here shows the cars careering down that notorious hill towards the tight corner. There is Ron Rogers, in fact, number 152, perched up there on the banking. Mind you, he wouldn't have been on his own. Yet another change. Still at Cadwell Park, and this time over to the far side of the track. Look out for Dougie Cronshaw, 396, Ian Durham, 311, Willie Harrison, number 2, and Rod Faulding, number 36. Ron Webb, number 56, in trouble there. Willie goes through. There's Willie again. Cronshaw, number 396, just disappearing around the top of the hill. Ron Rogers.
I've mentioned New Cross Stadium, which is where the first stock car meeting took place. Most of the stock car meetings in the 50s and carried on through until today were based on the old speedway tracks. And so you've got a lot of basically dirt tracks they were, being speedway tracks. Most of them have closed down now, nothing like so many as there used to be, and some of the ones have now been tarmacked over and are used purely for oval racing, because it's not just stock cars that go oval racing. There's a number of other formulas that also go oval racing. But we got tracks that we had all the way down from the south at Eastbourne, St Day down in Cornwall, all the way up into Scotland. Tracks all over the country. At the moment, there is a good following of stock cars and various tracks, especially in East Anglia. Ipswich probably being the best. That, of course, is a full tarmac circuit. The cars evolved all during this time, from the big American 1930s and 1940s sedans and coupes. They became specialised for dirt track racing, and the 1960s cars became completely single-seaters, which were specially built for oval racing, and evolved into today the big Brisker Formula One cars, which probably have 700 horsepower under the bonnet, using very large American engines, big 7-litre engines, producing an enormous amount of horsepower, and they have got huge, great big T-tray type wings stuck on the top of their roofs. Very, very different from the old 1930s and 40s sedans that stock car racing started with.
early 1950s, and driven by Dan Squire. Now we have some rather interesting things because well-known stock cars, the race stock cars rather, Graham Hill, world champion Graham Hill, Martin Russell, straight stock cars, and so did Derek White. But earlier on, about 1972, but it's not. Often has a modification on its engine, and I showed you that you're making 17 consecutive years from 1947 to 64. When he came over in 1955, a chap called Curtis Kryder, and he had his nickname Crawfish. And Crawfish was only just one of the many, many nicknames that so many of these drivers had. A very, very colourful nicknames indeed they had. The custom originated in the United States, and our drivers took this with great humorous delight. Served in the armed forces where nicknames were sort of, well, automatic really, and many carried on using them. And we had some crazy names. We had Homicide Hayward. And his name as well, wouldn't call himself Lloyd. Another typical one, of course, to concentrate on the Persian forces, James Jones.
Okay, first started racing in 1955. I was 17 then, and the reason really I got into stock car racing, I was really interested in circuit racing before stock car racing came along, and I found I could be paid to race a stock car, and we made very reasonable money in those days. Didn't really know a lot about engines or how things worked under the bonnet, but however, I did 4 years of it, and I finished racing in 1959, February 1959, and I raced a car like this that I'm sitting in now. I also raced a Model B. The first car I raced was a 22 horsepower Ford. That was a big mistake, down on power, and I figured in the results, let's put it that way. And yeah, then when the specials came in, and very short of money, these old side valve V8s couldn't live with them. So I decided that I would call it a day. And then I came back into it when this heritage movement started 15 years ago. And I was lucky enough to find this car came from Uruguay, and Model B that I own, that was found in Cornwall. And we made them into stock cars, and we demonstrate them around the country all summer really. And I'm now 81 and maybe I shouldn't be doing this really, but I really enjoy it, and they're a great bunch of people. Really got really not a lot more to say on it really. It was just a wonderful time in the 50s that we were paid starting money, £5 to turn up. It doesn't sound a lot now. That's like £200 now. Serious money. And I was semi-professional. Bought and sold old cars and did a bit of scrap metal and all that. But that's really the story of it all for me. And I've come full circle. Here I am sitting in the car really that I raced all those years ago.
Hi, so you want to know what I've done over the years? Bangers, national bangers, they were just bangers in them days. What a lot of people don't know is before I had a saloon stock car, I had a super stock, which I crashed and wrote off, and then I moved on to saloon stock cars. 74, 75 is when I went to saloon stock cars, and raced saloon stock cars through the years to the end of the 80s, and then went to Formula 1 stock cars. Had a few years with them, went back with saloons again.
All competitors for race 2, the
had a few more years, and then I don't know the years, but we
Thank you.
We did try, we had another Formula 1 stock car a few years ago, and we tried a small block Ford engine in it, in a Brisker Formula 1 stock car. Surprised everyone, went quite well. But over the years I've raced national saloons, stock rods, bangers, Formula 2s, super stocks, and these historic cars. I'll drive whatever you ask me to drive, basically. Don't know what else to say, really. What else can I say? Said them. V8 hot rods. I had a few years of V8 stock cars as well, when I was developing the Ford engine to put into the Brisker car. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. Sorry? Well, yeah, I've done some stuff in America, but yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I've been through the list. Bangers, stock cars, saloon stock cars, Formula Ones, V8 stock cars, V8 hot rods when Speedworth tried them. They sat me in one of them for a while. Reliant Robins. They had a series at Yarmouth for a couple of years. We won that a couple of times. You name it, I've kind of driven it really, and had a lot of fun. Pardon? Well, my son is saying about the 100E, that was a national saloon, but to be fair, that was a wolf in sheep's clothing, that weren't no 100E. Don't know what else to say really. What else can I say? Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun.
Started in 1971. We bought a rolling chassis for £75. We got an engine for 25 quid. Put it all together and bought an old coach for £100. And we raced all over the country with a little old bus and a little car, a little old engine. Then we decided, then we went onto Jaguar engines. Quite successful with them. Built another 2 cars as others were badly damaged. Then I went to a sale then, and there were some Chrysler and Dodge engines in this sale, and the firm had gone bankrupt. The engines were flat bottomed, some steel cranks and everything. There were 6 of them and nobody bid for them at sale. And I got them for £100 a piece. We put one into my car. Michael next door, his uncle bought one for tractor pulling, and I got a red top with him. And raced virtually throughout, up to just recently having a heart attack, and that stopped me racing. But we've got somebody coming to drive it tonight, which is Richard Ainsworth, and he's been in stock car job for same length of time as me, so we've had some good do's and we've had some poor do's, but at the end of the day it's a sport, isn't it? So we've come all the way from Bradford today. We went to Showcase Cinema last night and watched Pavarotti, came out of there, went up into Halifax, picked my wagon up and set off down here and got down to King's Lynn Services at 1:45 this morning. Had us breakfast and then we've come down here today to see what it's like. They've invited us to come, so we've come. In 1977 I built that 6-wheeler, and a lot of criticism about it. You can't do this, you can't do that, and a good friend of ours called Stuart Smith and Bev Greenough, they put it through to Board of Control and they give us a license to build it. So we built it, and the first time out was the 7th of November at at Northampton, and it came straight out at back at coach, onto the track, and I won first race with it. And then as business got busy and busy, we didn't have time to progress it. So when I was 65, Keith Barber rung us up and asked us if we'd make a replica of it. So we did, we built a replica. And that's what it is today. We're gone in a minute. Nearly gone out. So we built a replica of it and we're racing it. We've been all over with it. We were at Cadwell Park a fortnight ago. Unfortunately it pulled this bearing out, so that was the end of that. We couldn't do it no more that day. We've since put a new bearing and stuff in it and tried it round the yard at work and it seems alright. So we brought it here today for people to look at. Because it is the only one there is, there's no more. Americans have tried to make one and they couldn't get it to right. The Dutch people came over and they measured it when it was down at Northampton and they went away and they built one, but they couldn't get it to go round corners. But that goes round corners quite well. But really that's about it.
So you saw something a bit different here at Cadwell Park today. The stock cars used to run on a purpose-built oval on the infield at Charlie's Inn. Actually today they ran on the full circuit, which was a bit strenuous for some of them. They're not used to running for so long and it took its toll on some of the cars, but they're getting fixed back up and we'll have them back out for action to wow the crowds again tomorrow. I enjoyed my guest slot here on second shift and hopefully you enjoyed your little glimpse around our Wolds Trophy event at Cadwell Park. We hope to see you back here in the Lincolnshire Wolds sometime in the near future.